Okay, so welcome everybody to session 2 of PRP002, and that is develop and maintain networks and collaborative partnerships. We're doing 2 sessions of this because in your schedule you would have had 1 PRP and 3 DFV001 modules sessions. So they've actually integrated, and the listing has been put out incorrectly where it should have 2 PRP001s and 2 DFV001s. When you get to the end of DFV001, everything runs smoothly again. Everything's still in time. It's just that we're not doing 3 domestic family violence sessions. We're doing 2, and we're doing 2 of this. Tonight's session is very much industry-based and task-based because this has one of the biggest set of tasks in the modules, which is collaborating with other people as well. So they're big tasks. They're not hard tasks. It's just going to take you networking with people to complete. And there are different ways to do that. And we'll get to that at the come to the end of the class group at the session. Probably start at about 7:45, about 7:30, 7:45 on that. And we'll spend a good bit of time on that. So tonight we're going to do some industry practice, and we're also going to be doing creating our own collaborative networks, which will align with the tasks that you'll be doing as well for this. So let's begin. So to begin with, Kath, would you be able to say the acknowledgement to country, please?
Yes. In the spirit of reconciliation, Haydar Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual and cultural costs of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respect to all First Nation people and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you. So a bit of housekeeping to start with. So just remember, cameras on, mics off whilst I'm presenting. You can put your hand emoji up for class participation if you want to ask a question. Break times at 7 and 8 p.m. roughly, or 10 minutes each. No smoking or vaping on camera. Hopefully none of this content actually causes a trigger, but if it does, remember to reach out to somebody and talk to them. And there's always Lifeline on 131114. Don't forget, we have respectful relationships here, and we speak with respect, we listen with intent, because respectful language and leaving our biases aside is our duty of care. I have these banners up here now. It's the new banner head for our presentations. And these banners, not so much flags, but banners represent the diversity right across our groups here. And just remember, make sure you do something for yourself each week. Be kind to yourself, relax your brain, and enjoy yourself for at least an hour. Get some time out. Right, just want to go over a couple of things around the benefits of collaboration. So collaboration is around organisations getting together and working on a project. And that's going to be what one of your tasks are in PRP001. And you look at problems that come up in communities, and you're looking for the gaps in service. So what are the needs of the community? What is not being met? How can services already in play, operating, be able to work together to provide a better service to fill those needs? We look at trying to have effective outcomes for people, and doing that in a collaborative team, a network of organisations, can often meet those goals much easier than an organisation on its own. A network, a collaboration of people certainly creates more ideas. And you often find there are a lot of people who actually are great problem solvers. So solution-focused work here is imperative part of the collaboration. Having a collaboration, I know for one that I was involved in around housing and homelessness, they created a program where other services came in and they were looking at housing in one of the lowest income areas in Queensland. And even though there were housing services in place, the housing stock was low. What other ideas could be explored to have creative housing as well? So that was back when they started looking at shipping containers many, many years ago as forms of immediate emergency housing, and redeveloping those. So we're talking 20 years ago. And then recently when I was in housing in 2021, the whole different projects around those mini houses around small demountables now. So they've upgraded on how that looks for sure, but that's still in play out there. Now, also when you collaborate with somebody and you share resources, you might even share workers. Your service delivery takes another arm. It steps up because you've got direct access to referrals. This is where the beauty of having a collaboration with organisations. So for organisations like, say, a neighbourhood centre, they might have 2 or 3 services there, but if they collaborated with Centrelink, housing, different other places, I can't think, youth group, things like that, you actually then have a bit of a package deal for people to be able to access activities as well as support. I want to have a look at this community networks, and it's around an Indigenous peoples, First Nations groups collaboration, but they talk about the money, trying to secure that and what was going to happen and how change can happen. But it's where the community needs to come in and be a part of that, the importance of that. So let me just pause whilst I So for those who are watching the recording, the link should be coming out with the recording in the email. But that was about capturing the essence of community collaborations. Can anybody give me something that they would take away from that recording, please? Just so we can share it with everyone.
Yeah,
The
remove.
development.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, the development of trusting relationships.
Yes, yep, definitely. Yep. Yep. Amber?
Yeah, removes barriers and gives a greater diversity.
Yes, yes. Recognizing that difference and creating your practices to help break down those barriers. Yep. Good pick up there. Good one.
The understanding of working with the Aboriginal elders and the people to understand that their with law coaches.
The gatekeepers. Love that. So the elders would be a part of the gatekeepers as well. Yeah, definitely. Good pickup. Philip?
Yeah, the collaborations basically, like understanding what others have and what you can use, sort of thing. So bring that through as that person-centered approach.
Definitely. It's interesting listening to one of the elders there talk about that whole collaboration and what it means for everybody, but acceptance of difference. That was wonderful watching that. Kath, thanks, Philip.
Getting embedded in the community, so knowing who your clients are, and then you can understand where the gaps are and where you need to reach out further to be able to provide the services that particular community needs.
And that's what collaboration does. When you embed yourself into the community, which takes a lot of work. It doesn't happen overnight. And it takes a lot of work from your part connecting, but it's also about connecting the services and working together and then creating programs from there. Christine?
Yeah, mine, it's something similar. He just made the point that rather than saying, we have a pot of money and this is what we're going to spend it on, he takes the view of the approach of putting it out to the community as to what the needs are, and then finding the funds to meet those needs. Yeah, definitely.
And what they called capturing the information from the community.
Yeah.
For the type of service that you need. The priorities, understanding what the priorities are there. Welcome, Christy. And one of the biggest things that actually I noticed that they talked about was the leadership they had. Somebody at the helm, I think his name was David, when they talked about what it would have been like without that person there. So this to me tells me when you have a collaboration, you still need good leadership. And leadership doesn't have to be done by one person, because there were people who were doing great work there, but leadership seemed to be a good part of that, how they hold that whole together. It's a good thing. I'll just go back to share.
Okay. And I was also going to add, living in a beautiful, tight-knit community like I do in Mudgee, being an active listener, listening to people, listening to what their needs are, listening to what their wants are, is so important. And that gives you then the empathy, the sympathy, and the drive to, in my opinion, outsource those other specialists to help that individual. So that's just my little input.
Definitely, it's important. Communication is the tool for everything, but how we do it and how we walk into it and how we work with it, very important. All right, let me just share my screen. So as models of collaboration, there are different ways of having collaborations, and it's very important that you have a structure for a collaboration. Now, a collaboration model is something that fits the services and how they're going to operate. We are going to have a look at two activities here. We're going to look at the comparisons of collaboration models. And we're also going to be looking at a collaboration activity where you are going to create a project which this is going to be in line with your assessments, because part of your assessments are to work together on a community project, and you will present as well. You'll use PowerPoints to present ideas as well. You will do team meetings. So we'll talk more about that after this. This is for us to practice of what really happens in real life. So we're going to look at 2 projects. So the first part is, let's have a look at the comparisons of collaborations models and why that's important. So I'm just going to bring up I'll grab this link. And I'll bring it also up on the screen. Right. Okay, let me bring that back up. I'm jumping from screen to screen. Right. Right, so here we are on that website link that I've just given you. And that's on the Queensland government, and it's around models of collaboration. Sorry, just trying to get my panels up. Right, so what best suits your needs? We have to look at what sector you're working in. What is the aim? Often you can be sharing space with other organizations. What infrastructure is already in place? You don't want to replicate and do things that are already in place. And what are the needs of the community? You have to maximize the most benefit out of the resources you have there and then. So this is where I want you to explore shared collaboration, co-located collaboration, and integrated collaboration. So when you look at those models, these are the type of questions we need to be asking ourselves. So first of all, let's just go and unpack what these models are. So I'm just going to stop there. Right, so bring back a definition of each model, please. You're going to need this for your assessment, so that'll help with that as well. Just a brief outline of what they are, and we'll share that. We're just going to spend 5 minutes here. Everybody do it individually, because that resource will be yours for your assessment, okay? I'll put the link back in again. Yep. Tell me that link's working. If not, let me know.
It is providing a comparison of collaborative model, but not the website link that you provide was showing on the screen.
It's not coming up. Okay.
No.
Let me see.
I think what you sent is still useful, but it's not the one you showed us.
Is that the one I've given you? A community door? Haven't given you community door, have I?
No, you've given us department. No.
Yep, no. Okay. I'll go back to,
It's more like a fact sheet. The link you've given us goes to like a fact sheet.
yeah, I think it's your PDF from the same thing. But this will probably be easier for you to maneuver around. Sorry about that. Try that.
That's the one. Thank you.
That's the one. Excellent. It's also a good idea to have an example of what each model is good for. Because you will be on different boards with different projects. Even when you're collaborating with with a community to do a fundraiser, all these collaboration skills are beneficial for even those sort of things.
Helen, this task that we're supposed to do now, do we put it in the chat or do we do it in a
Now you
Word?
keep it for yourself. Put it in a
Okay.
Word document.
Okay, gotcha.
It'll be helpful for your assessment.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. And I am just going to share what this looks like for our learners online. So for everybody out there who will be watching the recording, if you're having a look at the shared, comparing the models from the Queensland government, this is just an area, like every state has this as a model demonstration. So you have a shared collaboration and there's the examples there. You can do co-located collaboration, and this website will be connected to the links coming out with the recording, and you'll see the different benefits that it's used for in different activities in communities. And then we come down to integrated collaboration as well, how it works, what's an example of it. See it within a small facility here. So how it's used, how it's supportive. And there are actually common goals before you even think about your collaboration. The questions are around identifying your common goal, ensuring that you align your goals with the other services that are involved, and then having arrangements that are flexible and designed by everyone. And then there's a set of questions that you can ask yourself with a collaboration. And these are important to ensure the success of your collaboration. Okay. So let's have a look at first of comparing the models of co-located. Who has a description for that? Wants to share? Kath? You there, Kath? Okay. Yeah, Kathleen.
Co-location is where a number of organisations share facilities, and it's basically there's similar types of organisations, so their services marry up, but it's can be a cost-saving measure as well as a way to centralise services. There's a place in Sydney, I didn't get, I can't remember the name of it, that's a fabulous example of co-location.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Good work. Anybody else on co-location? We'll take 2 examples. Amber?
Would that be like a community centre or something like that? I'm just trying to wrap my head around it at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be.
It can be. I'll go back and I'll show you.
Yeah.
So co-location. Oops. It's about, it could be a community centre next to a high school that shares sports equipment, activities after hours, might have local government services, and they might partner with the council. So yes, a community centre, but that's only part of the hub. There are more things that actually connect with it. Right, an integrated model of collaboration. 2 examples of that, please.
Put my hand up. Oh yeah, I couldn't find put my hand up. I'm going to use an example both for co-location and integrated collaboration. I at the moment work in the hearing space, so I work at the Australian Hearing Hub. So that's 6 organisations that co-locate in one building. And we do have some shared services and we have shared committees. So we have a common goal, but each organisation has their own KPIs and their own goals. So we do it with government, corporate and the not-for-profit. So we can be doing different things, but that integrated collaboration is, for example, newborn hearing screening. So you have the screeners in the hospital, but it has to be connected then to the early intervention or the hearing aid fitting. So there's a pathway of working together. And that pathway has to really meet the needs of the end user. So they kind of go from one person that has the expertise in that to the next person, to the next.
Great example there. Good example. Thank you. Jacinta?
I'm just thinking of a place in a regional city where I live, and it's a bit like, well, it's not a community hub, it's integrated collaboration. You've got different places. So there's a neighbourhood house, there's a YMCA youth area, there's multicultural, so there's a range of different places that are all based out of this one place called Berkeley Square. So there's all different, but they're kind of under the one banner. They're all separate entities, but they share common interest, I suppose, in that they're based on community, supporting the community. Yeah, I mean, outreach, various community interests. Yeah,
so it's a hub. Yep.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hub, but they're all standalone. Yeah, within that.
And you would find that they would all meet probably once a month, talk about the different needs of the communities, what each service is still reminding each other service that our service provides, easy reference, easy access for participants. It just makes sense to do that they can access your service. Doesn't do everything, but you can easily say, let's make an appointment for over here. You're just walking to the next door, not how am I going to get a bus to the other side of town, lugging my children in and with a pram, children walking, it's raining. Think about access. Very important that you have these things in one area. All right. What about a shared collaboration model of that? What's a definition of that? Sky?
Working with different cultures, nationalities, like the Aboriginal people, people from different countries.
Yep, definitely. And it's the diversity that brings. And it's interesting. They're one of the best collaborations to have around problem solving. Lots of diverse thinking there. And for problem solving, it's been proven across research. So it's interesting that where people are coming from different perspectives and being able to collaborate, but problem solving comes out really well for that. Thank you. Jacinta?
Where you've got a TAFE that hosts vet and schools. In secondary schools, they're all coming to that TAFE to actually do a range from a cluster, and then they're coming to the core TAFE to do, you know, perhaps 10 or 15 different courses. Yeah.
So different groups coming into one area, but accessing a multi of different, so it can be support services, it can be education, it could be community services, but that's how they're operating. Okay, excellent, good work. All right, let me go back to share my screen. Whoop. Just remember about the synergy around the ability of the groups to outperform even if it's best, even its best individual member. So in saying that, that synergy of different organizations coming together and creating a hub or a network or a different co-located collaboration, an integrated collaboration, where you have to be careful that one doesn't outshine the other and takes over as well. Often you'll have one that is the natural leader in that they're the main holder of the hub, but they're very good at designating and standing side by side, not so much taking over, but they help direct. Good night, Kathleen. You take care. So it's important, that process around communication, how we actually share that information with everybody that's working there as well. It's important how we follow our procedures in that as well. So there will be procedures that each organization must follow for communication. So there's another consideration there that you're working on. Let me just go back to share my screen. Wanted to make sure that we bring up those collaboration models again around the different types. There are many, a lot of them they don't use as much anymore. So a consortia, which is a partnership type deal. We have mergers and amalgamations. So this is where there are amalgamations. You'll see often our big organizations do amalgamations when they buy out another company. But for smaller organizations being consumed by somebody else that's bigger, they often put the two models of practice together under one heading. So that extends their resources there. So you have co-location, you have different sharing arrangements. You have what they call auspicing. Can anybody give a description, pardon me, on what auspicing means? Doing a quick Google search. Yes, Philip?
If I get it wrong, I get it wrong. But auspicing, similar to like Rotary sort of organisations that basically like provide the sort of like the legal and the financial, and they set up so you can actually run projects through them, sort of thing. So where a place may not be able to finance, they can actually like use that as an overall like use for them. Sorry, I'm not really descriptive tonight.
Yeah, so they provide the support and the sponsorship to then help create, and they sit over the top of that. So they're they can often be a group of people or one person as known as an auspicer, but usually within an organization, they're the ones who actually bring that sponsorship and guidance. So you might even have a management committee and they could be on that as well. But it's about their support that you need to be able to create those programs as well. Thank you, Phil. And often that goes with non-profit work in organizations as well. Right, let's have a look here. Right. Now this is let's see if anybody can pick out a model. Think of an agency, a service. Can you identify an example of one of the models that we've talked about, where you've researched? You can use one of the models here on the screen. Can you think of an example of something?
VACA.
Sorry?
VACA.
Yes, yes. And what model would that be under?
Consoling. There's a few, isn't there? Co-integration meetings or?
Yes. And they also can be under, I know you were about to say it too.
They've got like 2 or 3 there because they do so much. It's such a broad thing that they cover everything. Yes.
So what else do you think it would be, Sky? Because I think you're on the right track here.
Other resource sharing arrangements. No, I don't know.
They would have interagency meetings as well, because VACA then reach out to have to provide sources of referrals for other agencies as well. But that was a good pickup. Good one, Sky.
Would housing
Christine?
also be?
Sorry?
Would housing also be there as well? Like not for VACA, like as a different thing, like housing and Centrelink?
Yes, they could be part of the resources they tap into that could be part of the hub that VACA creates, actually, because VACA has an actual huge array of networks that they work with to provide services for people.
Yeah, I was saying, I meant as in like, would housing or Centrelink, would they also be like their own like
Oh, the
model
house,
of,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, especially if they were auspiced by one funding, central funding area as well. Christine?
Yeah. During COVID, Meals and Wheels and Woolworths collaborated. Woolies were basically, I'm sure we all remember the problem with the toilet paper. And this caused a massive problem for older people. Because obviously they would turn up to the supermarket and there's no toilet paper. And so what Woolies did was that they collaborated with Meals and Wheels. Meals and Wheels were delivering meals to these older people. So Woolies organised for Meals and Wheels to be able to pick the toilet paper and like in actual fact a lot of goodies as well, and deliver those with the meals, but pick them up from the distribution centres. Or I think it was maybe it was that the Woolies vans would go to the Meals and Wheels centres and drop them off there, and then they could go from there, so that the elderly people didn't have to go to the supermarket at all to get them. Just bypass the supermarket completely, which I think was very clever.
A great way, you know, especially under stress and duress for the communities in a crisis.
Yeah.
But being able to still access goods and services in a different way. But
Yeah.
the basic commodities that were needed for sure.
Yeah.
We certainly got inventive over that time.
Yeah.
Certainly very inventive, I think.
And obviously the people didn't have to pay for them either. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were given to them free.
Yeah. Okay. I think when you think about that collaboration, what they did, they overrid a lot of greed in the community, where people were storing up that paper and selling it privately to astronomical prices. But that collaboration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, I think the supermarkets caught on to that pretty quickly and so said you can only buy X amount or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, limited people being able to buy it in one hit anyway.
Yeah. Yep. It certainly taught everybody a lot around when crisis happens in the community. How do we collaborate and work together? Because we were all so isolated in some way.
Yeah.
But there was still all those networks and things happening around the outside, still trying to make sure that everybody was able to access something in some way. Definitely. Yep. Tricky things it was. But just for your reference there, a merger and an amalgamation, it's when two organizations get together but they put their assets and all their liabilities together, and it's going to be under a new umbrella, under a new organizational name, but they actually share any debts as well as resources, and they start from that stage afresh, which is another way for an organization that's struggling financially. A bigger organization can come in and help there, and because they can see the value of what that small organization is doing. It just needs the funding backing to keep it operating. All right. 7 o'clock. well, 6:59, nearly 7 o'clock. Let's just break there for 10-minute break, and we're going to come back and work on our next project. So just to remember what a successful collaboration has in place, there's a proper purpose, there's a proper goal, and you have to be very clear about that and how it's going to meet the needs of the community. But it needs that commitment and drive from the organisations who are going to be a part of it. And that trust that we can develop is crucial, how each person plays their part, but it's relying that they will do that. And there's lots of great discussions and that you get together to talk about, and this is collaborating. When they're doing that, you're actually going over processes, you're looking at problems, you're looking at success, you know, what's working well, or what do you think should be in place, what's the need for it, how do you measure that it's working. It's a total learning process all the time, and it's something that can be evaluated at a 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, depending on how big the project is. But if it's certainly something that's going to be long standing, you might even have a committee or a board committee that helps govern the major decisions around something. A lot of community houses, community centres, or actually have a board that governs over the top of that because of the funding that's been gained to use for that. So that monitors that funding's used correctly. They're measuring what they're being able to achieve with that. There's certainly a lot of accountability when you're using funding as well, coming in from outside sources, especially government funding. Processes there for reporting on what's happening. This is where a board or a committee is actually handy to have in place as well. So let me right. I'm first going to talk about this project. This is a similar model that was used to look at housing for older women in Southeast Queensland. And it was a project that was put forward by 4 organisations. I was in one of the homelessness organisations in this area. 4 services got together and they presented to a government body to try and operate off a block of land to have crisis accommodation, but something that happened really swiftly and quickly. So it was using containers. There were tradespeople involved, TAFEs involved to use the apprentices there who were training to be able to work on the project. There was other different project community groups involved, the council, Lions Club, the homelessness sector, even Centrelink was involved. And it was trying to create a program where affordable transitional housing could be there for 3 months to a year whilst a person gained employment, reached financial security in the sense that they would have the deposit for a private unit. This was at the time where you could get 1-bedroom units, but the costing was still there. So it was about the aim to get them into the private rental sector, but over a period of time. It wasn't just come in and go. You did have up to 12 months. And the ideal was that each person would then help the next person help furnish their small 1-bedroom little property. Gardening, everybody shared the gardening, managing the grounds together, vegetable co-op, and there was going to be around 30 of these small containers, and they were 2 containers put together. So quite a decent size for a 1-bedroom unit. But it all fell down when the government pulled the money from the project, when the land that was going to be used was then sold privately for units. And then those units were not achievable for low-income people or people on single incomes who had minimal savings or superannuation to fall back on. So a collaboration project, we're looking at you being a housing agency, and then you're going to create mini affordable housing project. You've already got the funding. Decide where it's going to be. This is going to be in teams of 4. Who can access the service? What are going to be the guidelines for using this service, this program? What model of collaboration will you use and why? And you are to find one program that would assist the participants in that program, in that housing program, as a community. Then we're going to bring it back to the group and we're going to present. Let me show you why we want to practice this, because this is industry-based practice here. I'll just bring it up. Sorry, I'm just going through Accelerate. Bringing up the resources. Just trying to get the right one. Role play, that one, I think. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the right one. Nope. Sorry. Okay. Gotta go back in another way. Here we go. Right, so this is task 4. And 2 parts to it. You're actually working for first access, and you have the relationship with 3 different providers with the service. And you're working with Lynn Lee, who's one of the participants of the service. All right. So you're looking at opportunities for improvement of professional networking, how that network can be improved, how you can maintain it, and the benefits to the clients. And you're looking at 2 opportunities for improvement to build those links. So you're looking for strengths and weaknesses between the 2, but as a scenario, you've been working with Lynn for about 6 weeks. And after the discussion, community members help Lynn and her mum, and they've expressed interest in Vietnamese cooking and a career in food preparation. They want to extend their social network and also be talking to other fellow Vietnamese speakers. You establish a contact with a community, Vietnamese community, and you're looking for other networks here to meet the needs of Lynn. You have different contact people to work with, and you have different meetings. So you're meeting with these people to look at the services that you're providing, Lynn Lee, and if it's actually meeting the needs of the participant. Then you're meeting and collaborating 2 weeks later, looking at the progress and talking about what each service is providing. Has it been successful to meet the needs of Lynn Lee? Are there other areas that you need to be able to access resources? You're sharing and collaborating. There's an email you'll have to do. You're talking about the benefits of the collaboration. How can you expand this collaboration? Who else could you include to help create a bigger hub of resources? So part B is where you be part of the service providers and you be a representative of 3 community groups, and you're all at a meeting to establish the collaboration, find out what the strengths and the weaknesses are over the project supporting Lynn. How can you improve the Vietnamese community service to better support Lynn's participation and help her socialize and make friends? What is that service? What is that collaboration, that program providing? Is it providing enough for the community? What else do you need to think of doing? There's emails that go with that. But it's about expanding your relationship with other service providers. So think about that. In this, I'll go back and share my other screen. In our collaboration, we're looking at service models, what works, what way should you collaborate, what resource can you bring to the table? So what resource could you bring to help people who have been homeless to form a community together? So it's your research skills, having a reason why this program is happening, what model framework will you work with these other organizations, and one program that will assist many people in that program. So in your groups, choose somebody to be the chairperson, and they will bring back and give a brief overview of what you're going to present. Yes, Kath?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just a bit confused with this activity in relation to the other one that you showed us. How do those two, because one seems to be specific to the Vietnamese
It is
community.
yes, but we're not going to go there because that's your project to work on, right? So we're choosing a different project to work on. It's still about you collaborating, working with others, finding resources to share, having a goal. So in that project, Lynn is the goal. What is the goal here around affordable housing? Who will you aim that at? That already had a mission, a goal, and that's Lynn Lee and her Vietnamese community.
And is that the accessible project, is it?
Sorry?
Is that?
That's task 4.
Oh, task, yes, right. So that's an assessment.
Yes, that was the
Okay, right.
assessment.
Whereas this is just an exercise we're doing
This
right
is
now.
just an exercise,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So we're trying to practice our collaboration skills, finding a resource to meet a need, because you're going to have to do that in that project, in that task. How do you collaborate? 3 services they've used. Let's use 3 services in getting together to help create this mini housing, affordable housing program. Who will you include? And what program would you introduce to that mini housing community to encourage community-based practice? Because there would be gaps in the delivery. You might have the housing, but then there's gaps left. What other needs are not being met? So the groups will go, there'll be one group staying back and we will be recording this, and the other groups will be in the breakout rooms. I'm just going to copy and paste this and put it into the chat. Okay. So we've got room 1. Nathan, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here, Helen.
Oh, good. Saw your name. I knew you was there somewhere in the background. So room 1, Isabel, Mark, Nathan, and George. George, are you here? So George mightn't be in that group, okay? And just remember, some people are ill. So if you end up in a room on your own, come back to the main room, but I'll be watching for you. Belinda, Jenny, Philip, and Viola. Christine, Lauren, Louise, and Zoe. Amber, Christy, and here we go. We've got 1, Sorry. Yeah, so Christy mightn't be able to come into the rooms. Christine, Lauren, Louise, Zoe, Amber, Christy, Marihana, Rosie, and Don, Jacinta, Kath, and Sarah Tossi, Sarah Torrisi, sorry. Okay, I'm going to open
It's so
those
good.
rooms. I remember I did it last time, didn't I? And
It's
get
all
your
good.
name right. Yeah, sorry, Sarah.
It's all good.
I keep thinking I'm saying these great names and getting my tongue around them, and I'm not.
Hey, hi, Helen.
I brought you back.
Yep.
We're going to do our project in here.
Okay.
And we're going to be recording it for our online learners.
Okay.
Just looking at that process. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, that's
Are
fine.
you okay with that?
Yeah, I look
Rosie?
feral, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, was that we're going to do it as a group and then record so the online learners have like a copy of the process. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's about this process, about how we're collaborating. You still do it. You're in a different breakout room now. You're here.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a little bit more pressure.
Yeah. Just
you have your trainer here. See, you got the benefits of a trainer.
We do indeed.
So
how many of us are there? There's me. I'm just trying to see. Oh, okay. So I'm just having a look. So we've got Rosie and Mark. Is that Mark's in?
No, you've got Rosie, Marihana, and yourself, and me. So the four of us.
Okay. Okay, cool. Sorry. Go away. Sit down. Sorry, I've got this cat that's driving me insane.
All right. So let's have a look at these questions. So first of all, I'll start it off and then somebody can pick up as the chairperson, all right, just to get your head around it. So the 4 agencies we all represent are something to do with housing. So if Amber, you came from a community centre, that might have referred to the Department of Housing.
Okay.
Rosie, you could be the Department of Housing.
Okay.
Marihana, you could be the local job agency network organ manager. I will be the local emergency relief manager. So that is around food packages, furniture, and local community support, but it's around that very low cost affordable access to basic commodities. All right.
Okay.
So to get together, we've had a brilliant idea. The government has given us so much money to now be able to use the block of land that's at the end of a park for demountable housing for women 60 and over who are experiencing homelessness. Okay. There will be possibilities for 30 cabins, as we're going to call them. What will our aim be around? We have one criteria from the department around women 60 and over. So that's single women, no children, no partners. What level of need, other besides being at risk as homeless or homeless, what other criteria are we going to include here?
Could we be looking at women with mental health problems as well?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or coming out of violent and abusive relationships, maybe?
Yes.
Yes.
Along with that, then I would suggest we need to have already identified another service here. What will we need to support those people?
Mental health service, maybe?
Yes.
Yep.
So that will be something we need to, as an add-on, once we're and having a referral network with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be stage 2, developing our wider support community.
Okay.
Okay. Amber, pick it up from there. Where would you go from there?
Well, I'd get in touch. Excuse me. Pardon me. Sorry, my voice is going. I'd get in touch with the mental health agencies, or I'd outsource that to someone else to organise it.
Yep.
I'd also look for counselling services to be added on in the second stage as well.
Yep. So we've got one criteria. Oh, so actually we've got 2 now. So 3, female.
Yep.
Over 60. Now, this is not trying to be gender biased here or anything around that. It's just choosing a gender for this project at the moment.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that would also be considerate of non-binary as well as transgender.
Okay, okay.
Yes, definitely, because they identify as female. So there's our 2 criteria. Our third one is that we need to be understanding that many of our participants might have mental health illness.
Yeah, okay.
What else are we looking for as a criteria here?
I have no idea. I'm sorry.
No, and that's what we're brainstorming here.
I guess social and emotional support. These are all single women of a certain age. They're probably feeling very isolated. So that kind of community connection with like-minded people or people in the same situation, which I guess you're going to get within this project, but
yep.
Not sure whether you could bring something in from outside as well. So
I think that's a good point. We can get it within the project, but how are we going to make that happen? Having an outside source might be something we need to do, because we're going to need a driver, a community leader within the community.
So to like organise events, like social events, and
yes,
to encourage that social participation.
Yes. So that could also be a part of criteria, that each member participant who does get accepted comes on board as part of a committee to help manage that community.
Could we also look at the case managers? Like per person has their own, well, or a certain person manages only 3 or 4 people, and they attend to their needs as well, like social, emotional, that sort of thing. Like if they need help with food or clothing or furniture, then you sort of they can outsource that further along, sort of like a social worker, but
yes,
becomes their case manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
So having 30 females there, 30 participants, should I say? I'm hearing that we really should outsource a social worker to be involved in this program.
Yep.
Okay, so that will be another arm that we will layer up in level 2 for sure. So we've got our basic understanding of who we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what will be their needs? So like that assessment piece, we're looking at somebody's direct needs. So let's have a look at the needs of people who are 60 and over, homeless, and don't have much support networks around them. So
Okay.
what are the basic needs they're going to need?
Furniture, clothing, possibly, emotional support, food, just basic, yeah. And also an income if they aren't on Centrelink because they couldn't get Centrelink because they haven't had an address.
Yeah,
possibly.
so financial advice and
Thank you.
education to kind of empower them to know what rights they've got, and yeah, so that they can get that financial support to make that transition to hopefully eventually become
self-sufficient.
Yeah, thank you. We'll get that together.
So we
collaborating.
could use a social worker there to help coordinate services with Centrelink.
Yep.
But we also have our job agency network here, Marihana. So Marihana, in this project, how would you see you could case manage each participant in this group?
I would how do I say it? I would do the background checks and find the department that they're good at to help them move forward.
Yep.
And the things that will benefit them, and find the jobs in the community that would suit them.
Yep.
And the resources I would use would be the stuff like there's like women's refuge, or what other places do communities have? The Centrelink, the TAFE, the local TAFEs that provide free job seeking advice.
Yes, excellent. And possible government training too.
Yes, and there are free programs that are out there for all ages to use.
All right. So we're just going to pause it there. Can you see what we're doing? We're building up our resources here. Hi, Mark. Did you want to ask a question, or you come in to join us?
Sorry, I've just been sidetracked with family stuff, so dealing with the downfall of Bonza. So
no worries. It's all good. So if we look at so far, the stages we've done is we've gotten together and talked about the aim of what we're wanting to do, the purpose of the meeting, the purpose of getting together and having a collaboration. We then have the criteria that we're looking for, that we have to meet, just like Lynn Lee's, there'll be criteria to meet. We've now discovered we have an abundance of resources here. From the Department of Housing, what will you be supplying? Rosie?
Right, I guess we would be the kind of the first stop for applications that are coming through from other agencies. So anybody that's applying for that social housing or anything like that through official channels would come to us. So then we can work with that on maybe in a, I don't know, like some sort of triage system or a as need basis to put the most at-risk people first.
Sorry, Amber?
I said that was a great idea, the triaging. Sorry, I just, yeah, really, sorry, I should have.
Yes, because they would be getting so if Department of Housing manages the applications from people, looking at the highest needs list area as well, but we're also going to need people that have the capacity to be able to manage living independently as well, because there'll be just one participant per cabin. So there'd be a criteria we would have to create for the Department of Housing to be able to then direct on and choose participants for us in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a collaboration of screening those applicants.
So you see what's happening here. We're blending our services. And for Lynn Lee, we have to blend those services to make them work to meet all the criteria of her needs as services coming together. If we put that together, what would be one project that you would have to create? Oh gosh, somebody's father's fallen over.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. I can't bring it, it's gone. Sorry, just making sure this person's all right. Jenny, I hope everything will be okay. Sorry, everybody.
Okay.
Oh dear, poor thing. That's terrible. All right. So what is one project you would want to introduce? We've got our basic resources sorted out now, per se, for our participants. We're now in the pods. What do we want to bring in to help build community? Because in relating it to task 4, they want you to build community for Lynn Lee and her Vietnamese cultural background. If we're here with our community of participants here, what can we bring in to help build community cohesion, participation, ownership, to stop isolation? Because even though everybody might have a pod to live in, they can still feel very isolated. So what are we doing here to help bring that and create socialization and inclusion?
So you could have a rolling program of different activities, because not everybody's going to enjoy doing the same things. You could do like physical activities some weeks, and then you could have like a community garden. And just try and maybe take suggestions from the community with what people would like to do. You could have like a cards night, a games night or something. Bingo. So hopefully then you get everybody, something that everybody can feels comfortable doing and connecting. It might not be everybody's cup of tea every time.
Yeah. I think that's really good. I think even the ownership of the community garden would be one area that we would want everyone to contribute, but we'd have to work on what their abilities were to contribute. So if there were any physical disabilities, you know, being able to water, to pick, to monitor, sharing, there'd be a role for everybody here.
Yeah,
definitely. Amber, what would you think about doing?
I was thinking, what about a committee, like a community committee, so that can speak on behalf of the whole community, because not everyone likes to voice what they want. A lot of people can be shy, especially coming out of domestic violence. They're a bit, you know, I've been there, done that, and that's you're a bit gun shy, and you don't have a big voice.
I love the way you're thinking.
Yeah, thank you.
Because if you had a one-on-one with one of the other participants, finding out what they had suggestions for, but they weren't ready to be speaking in a circle, and that's how it would be done, in a circle, very comfortable, safe environment, but some people are not ready to do that. So I think that's a great idea to have a committee to represent others, but that committee would then be also forming relationships with the others to be able to have that conversation and find out different needs that they have. There would be screening that would happen for each participant coming in with a social worker, and some of that could be identified at that point. But like Lynn Lee, as she evolves, her needs will change. So what they start off with supporting Lynn Lee with ends up being a little bit different at the end.
Yeah.
And they add things in and change things. I think having a committee to be able to speak and share thoughts, ideas, and you bring it for somebody else as well, it's a great idea. You know, think of a suggestion box even. Yeah, as long as you're there. What sort of project do you think you could bring to the group, Marihana, from your job agency? I'm thinking about part of your services that you use to prepare people for work. What are some of the things a job agency would do to prepare somebody to get ready for work?
Well, have the services that help them to have the knowledge and I'm speechless. I'm so speechless.
That's okay. I'm thinking of when you go to a job agency and they start looking for work, one of the first things they ask you for is a resume. And a lot of people, if they're homeless, they wouldn't have a resume made up. So I'm thinking the job network service could actually be able to help people come into the centre and start working on resumes.
Yes.
And I think because your organisation would have the skills to do that, how would that look for your organisation?
How would that look? Well, to do the resume, you would have to know all the things about the person and how they would, what they like, what their interests are, and establish from there all the things that they are good at, so we could make a plan to help them move forwards by using, what do I say? Using courses that are provided from, oh geez, how can I say it? I've got so much things that I can't explain myself.
Well, yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying is that your organisation would have group activities around how to dress for a job, how to prepare a resume, and you even have training courses getting ready, going to TAFE and doing basic literacy and numeracy.
Yes, and putting those things all in play for that one person, and especially focusing on what they're good at, so they feel confident in moving forwards.
Oh, I love that. Great, good. Now you're onto it, Marihana. Looking at their skills, all right? What they've already got. That is going to help empower them. Give them resilience, give them hope, because you're going to help them bring that out, and that's going to be on paper. So good pick up there. I like that. Very good. Can you see now what we've created? We've got this wraparound support happening now. We've got the identification of participants coming through Department of Housing who would already be screened and social work in place. We're then looking at having our other hubs, our emergency relief hub that would be helping with food, furniture, personal items coming in. We're looking at a job network. We're looking at mental health support. I think the one thing we do need to probably look at is having a GP health service available that would be willing to bulk bill for our participants as well. Yeah. So we're making it right. Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Sorry.
So who would like to bring this to the group just to give a wrap up of what we talked about?
Sorry.
Okay. I'm just going to let everybody know that we're finishing up here. Even though we're working on a different project type of thing, it's about, can you see what the collaboration does? Everybody's going to have to be responsible for something for Lindley. And those three services that come together to support her, it's long-term support. What we were talking about here was long-term support in a different way, but it will still be put in place to make meaning and support for somebody. All righty, we all back? I think we are. Let me check the rooms. Yep, we're all back. Okay, great. All right. So Belinda, Nathan, Philip, and Viola. Who will be the chairperson for the group?
I'd like to nominate Philip, please.
Thank you for that nomination. And that,
Sorry, Philip.
no, that's right. So Look, I suppose one thing we sort of identified, like it's basically a simple question is not so simple. So the work of collaboration could be quite expanded. And that's basically like our conversations basically around like housing and like lack of housing. And like if we're using tiny homes into that space and we've got the money for it, it's basically who's going to be involved with that. So we talked about basically, so like Victoria, New South Wales, I think was basically most people were from, so Department of Family and Housing, I think was the, like as in for the overall, sort of like arching, like government. That we also had like local, like as in people like requiring housing was a place called Wombat Housing, and that so they were like a local organisation which were needing accommodation for people, sort of thing. So there's where our clients can be sort of like drawn from. We were talking about like if on the actual building of the tiny houses, like we might use like Bunnings as a sponsor or might attend. You might talk to local TAFEs that might use that as a project, and then we sort of roped in like the Lions and the Rotary associations, basically that they might drive that. Local government in the sense of like that last bit for like housing and planning and the sign off of permits. And then we sort of went up and sat there and go, well, like if we use the expression of shake a politician and stuff. So using like a federal politician, it might be in their portfolio and that. So in that portfolio,
Yeah.
we're sort of doing the work for them. So in that sense is, a lot of them will probably be happy to sit there and go, I can put my name to that. And that can also help with a lot of like logistics issues with local government and that as well. And then you also, if they're not activating or helping you, then you can go to the opposition for it and basically like try to spark their interest through their own lack of interest, if that makes sense. So yeah, basically like the like things like logistics and like from locally was basically like what agencies or what other agencies are we going to work with. It could be other not-for-profits, it could be other like sorry, Belinda said like the like NDIS clients for specific housing and that as well. So yeah, basically it's sort of like it just kept getting bigger and bigger sort of thing and stuff. So
yeah.
And that. So yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing when you start a discussion which way you go, depending on the skill base you have there working together too. So their knowledge and things like that, where it takes you.
Yeah.
A whole different level.
You sort of discuss like as in, like to start it, you sort of just need that huge whiteboard where you like everybody's scribbling their piece and then you sort of start to narrow down, what's going to work, what's not going to work.
Exactly.
Who can be involved, who, have we covered everybody? Like, are we going to cover everybody sort of thing? So, yeah.
So I can see you worked more on the processes here and the possibilities and the probabilities and how that could structure that basic support, but where you would go if one's not working as well, like funding, go from one opposition to another, government. Yeah.
And that, the same, like, like sponsorships, like Bunnings. I couldn't remember the names for the, we couldn't remember the names, like altruism, like we might use Rotary and stuff sort of thing. So like, it's all the different terminology for the collaborations and stuff. So we talked about the, integrated collaboration basically for this process. So, and that's probably why it got so big sort of thing. So, you know, like if it was a small place, it might be just a conversation with the real estate agent. Go, hey, can we build something down the road there? Who owns that property? You know, are they happy to put stuff there? And you know, but then like it can get big sort of thing too as well.
Excellent. Great demonstration of an integrated project as well around that model. Good work. Thank you. All right, Christine, Louise, and Zoe.
Okay. So the group of people that we identified would be people that domestic violence survivors or people that have been abused, single mothers we've identified. Who would we reach out to with return in terms of collaboration? We would reach out to food, you know, the likes of Woolies and Coles, transport, so that these people would have amenity to transport, childcare services, TAFE to help these people upskill and become trained, and also recruitment agencies. In terms of where would it be located, close to amenities, so doctors' offices, childcare services, transport. And we also talked about, Louise brought up a very valid point about the fact that single mothers that have got teenage boys over the age of 12 are not able to go into shared housing. So that causes a huge problem. So, you know, kind of we identified that as maybe an area that needs to be thought about. And this might work quite well if these mini affordable housing are standalone. They're not actually shared, you know, each unit is individual. And then we're talking about, okay, so if you do have teenage boys, then you have to have access to youth centers and, you know, I brought up skate parks and whatnot, you know, so you've got to, you know, so you'd be working with the councils to kind of make sure that they've got access to all of those services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, if I related that to the scenario of Lynn Lee, organising services together, there would be criteria, but there would also be boundaries around that criteria, that there'd be limits to service for different areas, say, as you said, for boys 12, teenage boys, in that case scenario. So there's a limit to service there. So when you think about your 3 organisations together supporting Lynn and gathering resources to help build, meet their needs, you have to have a boundary around how far you go. And what you just did then was have a boundary around the service provided and who it's for. So you've got a purpose, you've got your clientele, you've got a demographics showing there, but you've also showed that there could be a boundary for some people trying to access that service because they wouldn't meet the criteria. That's what happens when you collaborate with other services to meet the needs of one of your participants. Because another organisation might have criteria to be able to use their service. And if you don't meet that criteria, so in Lynn Lee's case, young, single, Vietnamese, not working, depression, looking for a job. If you had somebody who wanted to be looking at job networking, her boundary there might be that she's not actually ready yet because of socialization and depression. So then that would be a limit to the service that service could offer for her at that time until it was built up. So how did you find that process of defining how you work out the criteria for something? So you defined domestic violence survivors, children, age limit. How did you come to that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we need to take into consideration, and you know, that women are parents of boys over the age of 12 need to be catered for, where you can't just say, oh, sorry, we can't look after them. But maybe in a situation where they're standalone, you can. Well, I suppose what we did was we just sort of brainstormed between us as to say, well, what would they need?
Yes.
You know, what are they going to, what are they going to need? You know, I mean, you know, I don't want to generalize, but I would imagine that most people that have gone through domestic violence, you know, they don't have financial independence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe that they haven't been working, and have, you know, and as a result of that, they've lost their self-confidence. They need to build up that self-confidence. They need to get some skills. You know, they could have been, you know, at home just looking after children, whereas the man is, you know, supposedly supposed to be the, you know, the breadwinner kind of thing. And they're totally reliant on that. So they've lost all their self-esteem, yeah? So they need,
so you're talking about,
that up.
So you'd be talking about another service to help with women with counselling, that as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you do is identify needs. This is what you have to do in this case, in this task 4. You have to identify needs. This is why we're unpacking this and pulling out a whole different scenario. But what you can see coming out of it is you have to identify the direct needs coming out for your participants. All right. So good work there in that you've actually brainstormed exactly what you've got to do in a collaboration.
Yeah.
Helen,
sorry, we weren't quite sure which model it fitted into. First of all, I thought it was integrated, but then Louise was saying, well, no, because you know, it's like the likes of Woolies and Coles aren't wanting to get involved with this.
That's right. They might give one-off donations, but they wouldn't be, you know, an ongoing member of a body. So it's tricky. I mean, so then if I align that to the assessment, that resource is not the right resource for that collaboration then, in that sense.
We kind of talked about network of collaboration. Some would be closer, and whether that is I've forgotten which ones now because I haven't got it up, sorry. Whether that's the integrated one, so the domestic violence services and the housing and the social security, they might be those integrated ones, whereas the others will be a bit further away, but is that the shared? So it's kind of different partners bring different things, but they're all really important.
Yeah, that's the thing. Brainstorming, individualization, finding out what exactly that person needs and what will and won't work, what type of collaboration that will bring it together and best suit the needs of your participants as well. Kath?
I was just thinking about that, or in terms of the food, like you said, Coles and Woolies, it could be that if you're using the integrated model, that you're integrated with an umbrella organisation like Food Bank, or I don't know what the right term is, and they're the ones who deal with Coles and Woolies and the IGA and whatnot. So it is, so you can still keep that concept of integrated model because you're dealing with an umbrella organisation that's, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. So in Lynn Lee's case, you could be using another service that has a collaboration model that might be looking at, because she enjoys cooking. So who could you be collaborating with in the community? There's a great idea, food bank, because they do cooking lessons. And then she would have a purpose. They could be learning how to cook Vietnamese food. Just think about how we can integrate what we've learned here from tonight. Good work, guys. Thank you. Annie, Jacinta, and Sarah.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. That's our group, isn't it? I've written it down, so I volunteered to read it. So we've gone for the integrated collaboration for a mini house community. We've actually solved the housing crisis with our model. So we're looking at a hub on some council land located hopefully in town, that even if it needs some cleaning up or whatever you call it, you know, detoxifying, they're going to spend the money on it. So what we'd like to have is a health and wellbeing hub that might have a community health centre, headspace, perhaps YMCA active programs. There might be some corporate sponsorship if it's the appropriate ones. That might be, so we're looking at North Queensland, I think, up that way. There'll also be a community centre that could run education projects, where we'll also have a cafe so people could learn, you know, do barista, say food handling, some cooking. We're going to have a childcare facility where traineeships running by an RTO, so the RTO might have a little presence in there as well. Food banks. Then there'll be some not-for-profits, say housing support, maybe Berry Street, someone like that. Uniting Care, disability support, support for people from cold backgrounds. We're also looking at, we'll have a committee, but also some reciprocal time. So people have been approved, they will be asked to give 5 hours a week, reciprocal volunteer work back to the community, so that they're kind of taking some ownership, whether that's gardening or cooking or running a class or all that kind of stuff. It'll be for vulnerable people, low income, but there will be criteria. And we're looking at mid to long term, so that, you know, say if it's someone, you know, he just needs to get back on their feet. There'll also be, did I say job network? There'll be a job network in there, disability support, probably some Uniting Care, someone like that, and a little radio station, community paper. So I think that's just about it.
Wow. I'm just writing down a few notes here.
Wouldn't that be great?
So to integrate that into that case, to integrate that into, looking at that, how that integrates with Lynn Lee and building those services up. What those services would build is hope. And this is what you need to do around Lynn Lee in the task force. Looking at different ways to do activities, finding different resources to meet her needs. The inclusive, which a few people have talked about, the community gardens around, but what that can offer is skills, job skills as well. So Lynn Lee's wanting to learn skills for work. In that model that you've just presented, there's skill building, opportunities for living with support networks, having all those people around as well. But the main thing I take from that was the inclusion, the inclusive practice you were looking at, wrapping around a certain demographics of participants and creating hope, but pulling in all the resources that you could that would fit the model you were working within. So in the context of the task, the model is Lynn Lee, and her needs, bringing in those resources are quite crucial. Building a foundation, like we've heard from group 2, building that foundation, even though the way the models looked and what each one looked for, it was about building up something to be a support system and have a goal. Good work. All right. Now I've got our last group.
Can I just add to that? I was in that group. Because we talked about multicultural people living in this housing, mini housing, is that we also link in with the heads of the different communities. So say the head of the Vietnamese community in that area, or the head of the, if there's African community, and so building those networks for people living in the housing to then integrate, into the like the general community, but also get support from their own community.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And that would be something we could do in Lynn Lee's case. Vietnamese community. All right. So we had a group in the main room, and that was Rosie, Amber, and Marihana, and myself. And we talked about a program. Who would like to present that from our group, please? Amber, were you going to talk about that? I don't know if Amber's still here. There she is.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was muted.
There you are.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no problem. We had women who were coming from domestic violence, who were homeless or on the verge of homelessness. We started with outsourcing. We got community link involved. I'm trying to remember who else we got. We got counsellors. We also organised for help with food, furniture, and immediate needs met, as most people will be coming out of a relationship or straight off the street. Some people may not even have food. Also, we decided that once they do get in, we have to vet. There'd be a vetting system through Centrelink or Department of Housing, there'd be criteria that the people would have to meet, whether, that they'd have to be over 60, female only, no different, it didn't matter about nationality, and they'd have to be homeless or at threat of homelessness. Sorry. Then we also, trying to remember what else we did, sorry. It's been a very long day.
You're right.
Then we also decided once they were involved they were in the community, we got the people in, we then set up a committee of who we get people to volunteer to be on a committee so they could voice what they wanted from this community and how they'd interact, because not every woman coming out of domestic violence is happy to chat away. We'd involve social workers to help with their immediate needs, obviously. We'd also, try and organise activities within the community to get people to socialise and also help them heal, Also, another thing I did think we could also have weekly mediation sessions where people could sort of talk about their experiences and with a counsellor.
Yeah.
In a group setting, so a bit not Alcoholics Anonymous, but that sort of setting, like they didn't, that sort of thing. That would sort of help. And once they were sort of back on their feet and centrally, we're going to get job agencies involved. But one thing we didn't think of, and I was just fairly impressed, is trying to get sponsorship. Like the other group said, like with Woolworths to help with food and maybe, say clothing companies or food banks or things like that. That's one thing we didn't consider. That was another step in the stage 2, I suppose. And that's pretty much all I think we did. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. So for each project, even though you're thinking it's so far away from Lindley, what you've done is worked on a project where you had to collaborate together. You brought resources together that would meet the criteria needs of a certain group of people. You looked at how you could do that, what sort of collaboration process you would have, how you're going to meet the needs individually, as well as a group. How do you make inclusiveness happen? How do you access resources in your community? How do you build socialization activities for somebody? This is what you've all been doing. All those things that you've covered are around what Lindley needs to have met her needs met. We'll break down her needs after the break and you will see how these actually align what you've done, how you'll be able to do this project. Let's go for a 10-minute break. It's 8:30 now, so back at 8:40. Great work, everyone.
Thank you.
Community services. Tape 2. Oh, here we go.
All right. Great chats there. Great collaboration. Right, okay. So just going to share my screen one more time. All right, so the assessments. A couple of things coming up for people. How to record in Zoom. How can I form a team to work with from class? And what's next and how do I start this task? So first of all, let me take you to Zoom. And by coincidence, I did have Zoom up ready to talk about tonight. So it was timely that I heard somebody mention about how do you do Zoom. On the list to do. I'm psychic, really. All right, let me just bring up my Zoom and I'm going to show you how that operates. This is what Zoom looks like when you join Zoom. So you can open up an account with Zoom. It's free. Now this will look a little bit different to a non-corporate one. This is a corporate one through Hader, but it's very similar setup. Now, once you join, you'll have your basics up here. You don't have to put your picture there, but we have to do that for Hader. So when you've joined, you've opened up the account, you've opened up your main website. This is what it looks like. Here you can put your profile in. You can put in your personal informations. You keep a collection of all your recordings. You have a collection of all your meetings. So along here, you have schedule. And if you're going to schedule to get together with, say, 2 or 3 other peers or family members, however else you're doing the role plays or your collaboration meetings, you press schedule. Oh, okay, Jacinta, I've actually saved recordings on my basic account.
I don't know how to do that because I'll have to look at some of the video things, but because I accidentally deleted mine from my from my computer, and I'm like, oh my God, and I couldn't find it in there because it just downloaded it automatically. But anyway, I found it in the trash thing.
Yeah,
I'll have to look up some of those,
you should be able to look into the recordings over here.
Yeah, it wasn't there.
In your website. What?
Didn't save them. It went downloaded straight away onto the desktop.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll show you what happens here. So let's just bear with me. Jacinta, do you mind if I just use your name? Is that okay, Jacinta?
Sorry, fine. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. All right. So I'm going to meet with Jacinta on the 1st of May at 9 a.m. Now, 1 hour is the shortest time, but you only get 45 minutes for free. This is, as I said, a corporate one where it's paid for extra time. You don't forget to check your time zone here. Now, these are the things that are important here. Just leave these alone, but come down to here to security. Take that off and just have a waiting room, because if you're organizing a room and others are come in, you can let them in. Otherwise, if you take them all off, you get that sign. You must leave one option on. It's easier to just have a waiting room than sending everybody else a passcode, but that's up to you depending on your privacy level. Make sure you put host on, participant on. Otherwise, they'll stay off and you'll come up with a blank screen when you record. You press save. This is what it's going to look like that comes back to you. So we now have a topic. Sorry. We have a time. You have a waiting room. You have an invite link. Now you can come to this button to start the meeting as well. You can copy the invitation invite link from here. I find this one easier because all you need to do is click on that and you can see it's copied to clipboard. So when you take that, you take it and email it to who you're going to have coming to the meeting. And when you're ready to have the meeting, you go in and press start. Simple as that. When you're recording, this is the trick with Zoom. So when I paste it, there's the link. That's what it looks like in Zoom. Doesn't matter about you.
I
won't
can't
be
see
going
it.
to that meeting. Oh, it's in the chat.
I just lost it. Oh, it's in chat. Okay.
Yeah, in the chat, in the group chat. I think it's in group chat. There it is again. When you come to recording in the room, you open up the room, you'll have a green button down the bottom that says record or share screen. You'll record and pause and stop it down the bottom on a black bar. It's as simple as that. If you're going to share, it might ask you to share host. Who's the host? Because you're the host, you're the one that created the meeting. When you save to cloud, not to your desktop. That takes a lot of time to get downloaded, that recording. If you save it to cloud, you'll be given a link when you close your room. You will get an email with a link to that recording. If you're doing a role play for your assessments, instead of uploading the video, you're uploading a video link. So you copy and paste that link and put it on a Word document and put it in the download upload area, because sometimes your assessment will not send unless you put something in that area. So copy and paste that link on a Word document, put it into where the video goes, and put a little note there for the marker, link to video in Word document, okay? That way you haven't got to download a big video onto your computer. Takes up space, takes a long while to download, takes a long while for us to open it at the other end too. The other thing that they use here is called WebEx. WebEx is so similar to Zoom, nearly the whole same processes, but it's a simple process like that. When you're recording in the room, if you're doing certain things, you can pause record. You don't have to stop it completely, because when you stop it completely, it'll ask you, will I save to the cloud and completely close? Yes or no. If you just want to pause, you're just pausing it like you're watching a TV show. Keep it, it's much simpler this way. If you're going to do an MP4 saving, which often works off your phone, it must be MP4. Can't be Movie Maker. Can't be just an ordinary video, because they take so much to download. Excuse me. So let me just go and bring up the other tasks in this. Any other questions around Zoom? All good? Okay. So this is task 1, the quiz. You've got 5 questions, but they're quite involved questions. So question 1 is about copyright. All these are in your learner guide. Don't forget, this is open book and you can use from your learner guide, okay? So you've got, now when somebody asks for a legal consideration, that is a law or a legislation that is in place. The ethical reasons are around things that could harm people, issues that could come from that. So think about what is a law that is based around copyright. What is a law based around privacy and confidentiality? They're legal considerations. The next one, you have a table, 2 examples of the following each types of networks. How would an organization have a collaboration? How would an organization have a networking collaboration? A networking team? How would an individual be involved in a collaboration? How would an individual be involved in networking? And so on. Same again for the next table. You had 2 examples of how these impact on networks and collaboration. So how do values impact on networks and collaborative partnerships? What limitations are there with networks and collaborative partnerships? Then you have a scenario. Research 2 established networks that are in your area that you're interested in. Look at the location, look at the industry, and now you're going to put in the details here. Now, often on their websites, they will have a purpose and a vision on their homepage. What sort of network is it? How is the organisation structured? And who are the key stakeholders in that network? Often down the bottom of the page, you'll find who are the stakeholders involved with a network. If they're a government body, they often say them up the top of the page around who's involved with that network agency or service provider. And which of the following principles outline key aspects for both networking and collaboration? Think about the things we've talked about here tonight. Think about all the principles we've talked about and the importance of doing certain things. All right, let me bring up task 2. This is where we start to introduce Lindley. Good night, Sarah. This is where we have to start pulling in our resources here. Right, so when you come to task 2, item 1, these are your task instructions. So you've got an overview, and it's not going to show me. Right. When you come here, you have to download the support plan for Lindley. That support plan will demonstrate that's what it looks like. And this has already been filled in by the first organisation that started with Lynn. And here's the case notes that you're going to need. There are many things in Lindley's life. Diagnosis of depression, anxiety, left school at the age of 15, lashed out at being angry, stayed at home since then, not engaged with any work or education, and she lives with her mum. She doesn't have any physical health concerns, but she doesn't know what she wants to do about the future, but she does like cooking, gardening, and maybe would like a job. So these are the things that you need to understand and know about Lindley. This is why it's crucial to get this information first before you start the assessment. Just get out of that one. Sorry, I'm just getting some questions here. Oh, okay, no worries, Rosie. You take care. I'll see you Friday night. Right, so you've downloaded that. Now start to read the email from John Ford. John Ford is talking to the collaboration team. Collaboration to meet Lindley's needs. You've all met Lindley. Can you summarize what her goals are in her individual support plan? You've just seen that. What order would you put those goals in? What services can you use to meet Lynn's goals? Like we did in the activity, start exploring what that report is telling you, what her support plan is telling you, what resources will you need to meet her needs? Who are the groups or service providers to meet her needs? How does collaborating support Lynn's goals? Identify at least 2 organisation needs and rank them in order of priority. This is your email from John Ford. You have to then email John Ford back using the template here from First Access. You must include the following into your email back to John Ford. You identify at least 2 organisations and your email response, and you can put it and drop it into here. Now, to go back, oops, hang on a sec, we might be down here. Here's First Access, where you go into there to get the email template from. You will notice up here in the overview, here's your connection to EduWorks, First Access, and here's your staff portal sign in and password. If you have any issues accessing these, please reach out for support. There's 3 parts to this. You identify her needs through a collaborative practice, contact service and initiate their collaboration relationship, and you meet with the organisation representative to identify her needs. If you come up here to these little lines, you can take you to part A, which is where we talked about the individual support letter. Then we can go to part B. You now have to summarize her goals. That's her priorities. That's your email to John Ford. And part C, back to the individual support plan. And from First Access, you find the privacy and confidentiality policy, the network policy, and the email template. This is why you need to read over the whole assessment and gather your resources together before you go into it. Here's the role play instructions. So if I open that up, you've got the team leader role. Well, that's part 2. Service team leader, you will play the team leader of a role in this role play. That's the role play part that you have in task 2. You oversee the community service team, and you will advise that you have a formal partnership as the best collaboration process. You're then negotiating the type of collaboration you're going to move forward through, how you feel these will align with the organizations, what methods. So this is the dissecting of the collaboration process here. This is not about Lynn Lee. This is about how you do the collaboration.
Sorry,
Hence
Helen. I can't see that. It's just a blank screen for me. Has anyone else got the same problem? Or is it just me?
No, I can't see it either.
Yeah, no, it's just a blank screen.
Okay. Sorry.
Anyway, sorry, I just can see a cursor moving around, but can't see the actual
right.
screen.
I'll see if I can go back and find it a different way. Right, can we see?
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the role play part of task 2. And this is where it comes into being a collaboration process. Hence why we did the activity tonight. You will lead this meeting. You will talk about the collaboration level that you will use. You will advise that that you feel your coordination is the best, that it's aligned with the needs of each organisation. So this is about all the organisations that are going to support Lynn Lee coming together, and this is actually forming the collaboration process. This is the formal part of collaboration here happening here. This is the formal part that goes on behind the scenes to support Lynn Lee, and this is the formal legal part of getting the team together. And this is where you look at your communication skills. How are you going to record communications? Hence why you need to download the First Access communication policy. How are you going to do informal discussions? Is it going to be by text or phone calls? Could it be emails? How are you going to document and ensure accuracy and currency of information? That's the Confidentiality Act that you have to also download from First Access, I think, as well, privacy. But it's all around your organizational processes here from First Access around the collaboration. All right, bye, Viola. You take care.
Sorry, Helen, can you First Access is a website, is that correct?
It's not a real one. Let me take you to it.
So we need to be accessing the communication policy and other things from that First Access website. Okay.
Yes. So
is that nationwide? Is it? Is that a nationwide?
No. It's a fake.
Fake. Okay.
It's a fake organisation made for EduWorks.
For this course.
So it's run, yes, for this course, and it's run very similar to the Australian Community Workers Association, very similar to that platform, but it is only for this
course. Okay.
Course. Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
So a hint, when you do go in and open up First Access, top right hand corner, put in your HADA password, HADA Institute, and then HADA 123456 password. Right, you're logging in like a staff member.
Okay, right, and that gives you access to all the resources. This is one of the resources. Okay.
Now, when you're going to have to read through the task right through the end to find out exactly all the policies they want. Good night, Lauren. Copy and paste each one and go and put it in the search bar in First Access. Makes it easier to bring it up. Right, because sometimes you have to go fishing through, and it might be when you do bring it up, you might have to go scrolling down to the bottom to find their list of what they've. It's a bit of fishing, but that's why I'm saying go and get your resources before you start the whole project. Then they're sitting there, you're not scrambling looking for something. What do I need now? I can't find that. Go and sit there and get everything you need out of First Access so you don't have to go back. All right, it'll just save you time. So don't forget your task. Oh, I better go and find task 3. But wait, there's more. Okay. All right. Last share of the night. Right, this is task 3. You are required to make contact with Mary and ensure all of John's points have been addressed from his request, from his email. So this is where you're at now. You're 6 weeks down the track from when you first started working with Lindley and the collaboration team. So the service is progressing between the organisations and things are working well for Lindley and she's achieving her goals. Based on the feedback from the service provider, it's now time to establish a relationship with another service provider that can reach her second highest priority goals. Hence why you had to have a list to list those goals in order. This is why you need to do that. In the task, you'll collaborate with a representative of the community group you've identified in task 2 to support Lindley's needs. So you might be meeting with the leader of a young Vietnamese women's group, socializing activity group, right? You then do the email. You're looking at a proposal of accessing a service. There's your email. Now, email from Mary from the organization. I'm keen to learn about the services. We feel an informal partnership. So they're stating that they want an informal partnership here. Would keep it simple, but is that the best way to go? Think about that, because you've got to help Lindley achieve her goals by having this partnership with these organizations, this collaboration. So you have to work out the best communication methods you're going to need. And then you upload your email into here. That's the first part. That's the only part of this one. That's task 3. That one's kept simple for you. The main work's in the body of task 4, where you've got 3 sections. But once again, you can see that you need to have the template here for the email. So that's why I'm saying go in and get it. Now, this one shouldn't take you too long because you've already collected some of your information along the way when you first started in part B and in task 2 around Lindley's and her needs. Go and gather all your ingredients first, then do your quiz, so it'll bring up things about collaborations for you. I just need to take out the emails in chat because we're not allowed to put them in recording. So whoever's got that, have you got it for everyone? That we're copying the email? Yes. Is that correct? Okay, all right. It's just a requirement around privacy and confidentiality that we can't have that go out to the whole community, because that would be there going out to over 150 people. So we follow our policies and procedures wherever we are.
So do you send the chat out to people, do you?
No, but it can come in the recording, and you can request when you get the recording, should be able to open that up, and in that recording you can have a look at the chat, but not the private messages. The private ones don't come up, just the general chat, because it's good to access the activities in there.
Well, and that link that you put in there for
Yep. And those links should come out in an email underneath the recording link. They should.
Okay. All right.
We're hoping they should. Are there any questions? It was a huge night. Thank you for all your participation. You can see why we made it session 2, because just getting through the assessment, but having an understanding how collaboration works over here and why we're getting all these resources and being able to do that. I hope that activity, even though it wasn't connected to Lynn Lee, it still showed you how you had to collaborate, gather resources, have a process. This is what you're looking at, a process. Don't forget across the board that, no worries, Jacinta, that you can access Calendly. Does everybody know where the link to Calendly is to access a trainer at any time across the board? Does everybody know that? Because I'll pop it in the chat just in case. I'll go and grab that for you.
Yeah, I made the mistake. I went into that link and I made the mistake of clicking the wrong one. And so as I explained earlier, first thing this evening, got directed to the enrollment lady. So who I spoke to at 12 o'clock and said, no, I'm already enrolled. I don't need it. Was so when you click on the Calendly, you need to click on the right link if you want support services for study, rather than, I don't know what I did.
Right. That's for the trainers.
Yeah.
And there'll be a variety of boxes. It'll have ComServes, youth work, mental health. I think there's early childhood. So you can use community services. Community services and youth work are very similar in course modules. So you can access either one there, unless you ask you're looking for a direct trainer. And then you can identify that because we've got all our pictures up there as well. Okay. Yes, please, Christy, do that, because they're having a lot of problems with today, people have having to be uploaded assessments left, right, and center. They don't know why it didn't take over, but your assignments mightn't be there, and your resources section as well were actually blank for some learners as well. So check that, but do email them. They've realized it's a problem now. They're just trying to tick that off for everybody. It didn't happen to everyone, but it happened to quite a few people.
Well, it's funny, today I had the recognize and respond appropriately to domestic and family violence. All of those assessments went up. And then I was like, hang on, the other ones aren't there. Why are they there?
Yeah.
Too easy. I'll do that tonight. Thank you.
2 things happening there. they were processing PRP going from 3 classes to 2 and DV going from 3 to 2. Then it was the timing of it that came up and the listing that one like community services and mental health had didn't match the system up top in admin of when it was going to be released. So potentially PRP hadn't been released. And that's what they're finding out. So, but do email, they're trying to get onto it pretty quickly. Okay. All righty. Big night, late night. Thank you for staying right to the end. Reach out with questions, book a Calendly right across the board. Go and unpack that task with a trainer, you know, just to make more sense and concrete where you're heading. Go and take that and book it in and go, am I on the right track here? You know, take advantage of all that.
That was really good tonight, Helen. I feel a lot more confident about doing those tasks now. Thank you.
Excellent. Good. And
because I tried them like before tonight's session because I thought that was it. And yeah, I just got really just no. But that's really clarified a lot of things for me. Anyway, thank you.
You must, I think the best thing to do, I keep saying you must, I shouldn't say that, you don't must. The best thing to do is go and look through the whole assessment before you start it.
Oh, okay.
Through that whole task, because you saw there was 3 parts to something and they all mean something that they all, so go right through and like I said, collect your resources, then go back to the start. Then it will start to make sense why am I doing part A? How is that going to look at the end? Go and have a look part B and C and go, it's a build up. Yeah. It's a process of how you're working somebody over a period of time. But it's this collaboration that's happening in the background with the organisation whilst we're working on Lynn Lee's support services over here. Yeah. All right. Thank you for being great learners tonight and been participating.
Thanks, Helen. That was really good.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Nice to work with everyone.
Okay.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Merahanu.